Welcome once more to a new episode of Mind Your Mind. I am Roxana Parra Sepúlveda, your host, and today I am with Justin Senense. He is a proud gay Filipino-American award-winning speaker, New York City Elite Personal Trainer, performer, storytelling coach, and co-founder of May I Be Kind, a social movement where humans remember kindness begins within. For over 12 years, he has championed healthy lifestyles for women, from wedding training to pre- and post-natal training and beyond. As a performer, he has been telling stories through acting, music, theater, opera, and dance in films and on stages nationally in the US and internationally. He believes that storytelling is a transformational tool that builds connection, inspires healing, and motivates change. It is his mission to spread kindness through fitness, creativity, and storytelling. And today we will be together spreading that kindness. I will definitely join you, Justin. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. It is always overwhelming, but also a wonderful reminder of how far I have come personally for myself and how much kindness I have actually offered myself over the years. It's a wonderful, wonderful reminder. So thank you for having me and thankful to be with you all today.
Fantastic. I'm sure there is so much to talk and to think about kindness. I'm super excited. And when I saw you the first time in the Global Woman Club meeting that we shared in New York, it was so fascinating to see you on stage and hear about your interest about kindness, and how do we together can do something to remind people about kindness and bring kindness to ourselves as well. Well, we will be talking a lot about that, but why don't you tell us a little bit more, first of all, about the May I Be Kind movement and what motivated it, how it got started, everything. We want to know everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like for me, kindness has been something that I may have taken for granted and overlooked in my own personal journey, growing up as a child that was bullied in Abilene, Texas, to struggling with my sexuality and how do I come out. And after coming out, then to me, I thought ultimately at that moment, I thought that was the act of kindness, to come out, right? To do that. But truthfully, at the time, I was very unkind to myself because I feel like I put myself back in the closet because I did not have enough kindness built within me to even be able to accept rejection, if that makes sense, and to live within that rejection. So for me, the kindness movement is, number one, a reminder towards myself that I am kind and that there is kindness within, but also a reminder for me to practice and to choose it. I feel like in society today, we really do take kindness for granted because we believe, which is true, we all have kindness within us, but we also have love, we have hope, we have joy. So my question to myself is, then why is it we live in the world we live in and find hard so difficult to find kindness so difficult to receive, and find hope like lacking these days? And I can't speak for others because we all live our lives separately, but for me, the reason this movement exists is to remember that I do have kindness within and that it is my choice to continue to water the kindness within me so that it can grow, so that I'm able to offer it to others. Because without that, I'm not able to give kindness towards others. I might be doing kindness, but I'm not being kindness. And I think in society today, we have determined kindness as like not an action per se, but something that we just are. and not a choice or verb that we can choose to be.
Mm.
And every time that I've actually walked around with our shirts or our hoodies, sometimes people will shift it back towards me. They'll actually say, may I be kind, with a question, and offer me, telling me, you can be kind. Yes, you can. Of course you are kind.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, the movement is reminding myself, I wear this shirt and I operate with kindness because I remember it is within me. And so then the question is, do you? Are you doing the same? And it is so interesting in society today how we throw it back to the other person. And it's not blame. It's not, but it is, to me, it shows the difficulty that we have in society today to actually receive even a phrase, may I be kind, because it asks us to look within ourselves. Am I being kind, or am I just doing kind things, right?
Yes.
Because I feel like we can do kind things, but we may not be kind. Because I've done it for myself. Like I was doing a kind thing to come out. And then how was I actually being after I came out? Honestly, not kind to myself. I was putting myself back in the closet. I was still going back on expectations, trying to live two different lives. It was too difficult. The pain was too hard of being rejected to actually fully be kind to myself. But I truly feel the movement comes because kindness is an umbrella for us to feel our humanity. And if we feel our humanity, it is not always the good things. It is also the bad. And sometimes we just prepare ourselves for the goodness of kindness and those positive feelings. And then we are struck and in shock, I was, with the badness that also comes with feeling my humanity. Because in those times, that's actually when I need to draw upon the kindness within to really not fix or not do something so I can be better or fit that expectation, but to just realize that, wow, there's a little bit of a negative feeling that I have, and I need to meet it with the kindness that I have within, because that to me is the base of also service to others, right? That practice of us to be of service to ourselves when we feel like we are in a dark space. And that's what we offer in service and volunteerism, and just honestly, just being in this world together.
Absolutely. And there are so many things that are popping up in my head while I'm listening to you, because I'm thinking as well about all the frontline workers. You know, this podcast is dedicated to everybody that is out there working and living their lives to actually help others, you know, being in that probably, and I'm wondering, no, probably being in that place of doing kindness. No? Which is almost a perspective that is positioning all your views outside on who needs what and things like that, that will help you to do kindness. But then here we are in this podcast, encouraging everything to develop their own self-care strategies. And it's in that process, I guess, is where we, from what you were just saying, where we are inviting then that being kind as well. So to go not only from the attention to others' needs and suffering, but also paying attention to our own. Because as you were saying, you know, and this is something that I also say all the time. I was talking about it this morning, actually. Everybody suffers for a reason. And it's in that moment and it's in that place where kindness then will be of a lot of hand, but most importantly, it's a choice. What you're saying, right?
It's a choice. It's a choice. And I just think we take it for granted. We think in a space that we're kind, but we forget that we have to be it, like from the neck down, right? Kindness doesn't live from the neck up. And
from the neck down. I like that.
Right. And so, and because from the neck down is our hands, it's our limbs, it's the things we actually do when we are frontline workers and service workers and volunteers. That is what actually omits the energy of being kind, right? In our heads, we think, oh, I'm going to do this kind thing. But it's everything else and that feeling and that energy and that umbrella to withhold all the emotions that kindness unfolds for us is the key, but it's also the most difficult, because our emotions and our stories and our experiences are usually withheld in our bodies.
Yeah.
And it is our bodies that offer the true service towards others. And I feel like we have, because it is so difficult to do, it has become easier to apply the kindness from the neck up and just think we're doing good things. But the question is, and we can, and I'm not saying that by doing good things, we don't offer good to the world, because we do. But
We
what
do.
I'm saying is there is more capacity in that impact within us that is necessary in the society we live today. And I think we're in a space, I even just said, I think, right? Because our minds really want to do kind things. It's what we innately want to do.
Yeah, it's like we embody kindness in a way. That's what I'm hearing from what you're saying. Almost as if it goes in two directions. No, it's not only mind. It's also body. It's not only outwards, it's always also inwards.
Yes. And when we go to work and when we're in the workplace, a lot of it is our mind, because it's work, right? It's work. And so we're there. And so I think the biggest thing is that for frontline workers, for service workers, for anyone volunteering themselves and their whole beings to a cause, to healing, it is so important to heal ourselves first, our bodies first at the beginning of the day, and then to then unwind our bodies in that same feeling of kindness. And if we can root that every day, what we do from our neck up, from our minds, is going to truly make the impact we want it to, because we have first embodied it, and then we're going to move it into action. If we can embody it, it ultimately is just going to come just the minute we step out the door, the minute we look at the person. We might even find ourselves just smiling at the person we're standing next to on our way to work, right?
Yes.
And that is an act of kindness. That is the act of service that we can all offer on a base level each and every day. But because we operate from kindness from the neck up, many times we're looking down on our phones, doing all these things to do the work of good. And we forget that just being ourselves,
our
embodying
presence.
that is the work, right?
And the other thing that comes to mind for me is that it's so easy for us to lose sight of the fact that life and our experiences happen through our body. We are so disconnected from our body, right? And that's why I like so much your concept of embodying kindness. No?
Yes. I will say, I've always felt outside of my body growing up, being bullied, being raised in a Filipino immigrant family, you know, in the South, in Texas, always. And what I mean by felt out of my body is never feeling like I belonged in a space, right?
Yes.
And so even at that,
probably a very necessary thing for you to do to avoid the pain of what was going on, right?
Yes,
absolutely natural.
And it helped me survive, but in that process of surviving, I lost a sense of loving and kindness towards myself, because I just wanted to get through, just make it through the day. And then I realized that I was being tested when I came out at really living, not just surviving, right? Almost to go back to the drawing board and be like, wow, it's not about expectations. It's not about success. It's really about, okay, now how are you going to apply this kindness you have developed it within when people are rejecting you, when it becomes difficult? And for me, I think a lot of the kindness was found rooting and embodying myself. I became a personal trainer. I sing, I act. So all these creative things helped me find a way of embodying or actually just getting into my body and softening it. I won't say that it fully got me to embody that, because I feel like my intention was still to be good, to be accepted, and to be liked, if that makes sense. But now I feel like I'm in a space in my life where I'm starting to relearn those things and really, truly, and that's truly why May I Be Kind came out, because I realized, wow, the piece of this is not necessarily to love myself more, is not necessarily to accept myself more, is to truly be kind to myself when I don't love myself, when I don't feel good inside, when I look at myself in the mirror and say like, oh, this could be better. But does that make sense? And those are the
Yes.
little things that happen to us every day that when we have the awareness that we are kind, we're able to apply that and grow it each and every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds to me that is that invitation to meeting yourself and myself.
Yes.
To meet us where we are at, no?
Yes, where
to
we're
meet
at.
myself where I am.
Yes,
With all the emotions that implies. And because we are very sometimes restricted, or I guess this is the connection with the expectations. I would like you to talk a little bit more about how do you see the connection between kindness and expectations, or how those are interconnected. But what I was thinking is that somehow there is so much expectation, or the idea within as well, no, the idea that we, as you were saying, that we need to fit somewhere, in and obviously we do need to belong. So sometimes there is a trade that is happening there that becomes quite toxic in a way, no? In between having that sense of belonging or being liked, for example, or versus being true to yourself and finding yourself wherever you are.
Yes. And like that need and that expectation that things are supposed to be a certain way, right? That I'm supposed to do something in a certain way, that I'm supposed to be this way so I fit in. But also it can extend to that kindness looks like this. So therefore, this is how I have to be kind, right? Like always in like this positive light of, oh, this is a good thing. But like I said, like kindness is like the umbrella for us to meet our humanity, which is everything, right? Everything. It is to be able to meet my expectations. And when I don't fulfill those expectations, but also to realize that when we let go of those expectations, then we begin to be kind. And the relationship between, for me, expectations and kindness truly is the expectations were the barrier for me to be kind to myself, if that makes sense. It is what blocked me from being kind towards myself, being raised, in a Filipino household, and culturally it was, you were going to be a doctor, you were going to be a lawyer. I even remember a story of like, when my grandfather was walking me to church and him looking at me and like, you're going to go to Johns Hopkins University and one day you'll marry a beautiful white woman. And at a young age, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And you're kind of raised in that way in these ideals of society. But then for me, it was like, what happened when those ideals didn't align with my story, my emotions, how I was feeling in my heart? And I wasn't able to, at the time, through this journey, really apply enough kindness. I think I needed this journey where I spiraled a little bit into shame, doing things, really be aggressive at getting success and validation so that it made me fit in. It would be okay for me to be me, and this is who I am because I've done all these things, because I have success and I've succeeded and I have my own apartment in New York. Therefore, and I help people, I'm doing these things, I'm training women, I'm helping them attain their goals and everything. And so this is the proof that I am good.
Yeah.
Because I proved it, where truly the kindness is in that moment to actually recognize I feel sad, I feel alone, I crave belonging.
Yes.
And even just by saying that is truly what I probably needed the most, except I was operating in a sense of always seeking externally versus just sitting internally and doing my best to let go of those expectations and to understand that, oh, is this really something that is me? Or is this something that I was taught would make me good, and if I didn't fulfill it, would make me bad? So that process over time, and I don't think it's a process that happens just in a year or two or a decade. I think it's like the human struggle that we all go through. And
Yes.
there's a thing in me that's like, but it is also what motivated me to want to help and serve others. So to know that it was the impetus that allowed me to be a champion of women, to be in the arts and be a champion of creatives and find communities where everyone is included and belonged, but then to also remember that the reason I am attracted or have attracted those things is we all have those same feelings, and that it is now my responsibility not to fix that for others, but to work on that within so that I can embody it in those communities together when I'm not in those communities, and to remember that we're all here because we all seek that kindness that's already within, and we're just surrounding ourselves with beings that are doing the same thing, so that energetically it gives us a better shot to be kind towards ourselves, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But also, I think one thing that comes to mind is that you need to be then in the sort of right environment, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
choosing to surround yourself with the people that you feel in tune more than just you want to be liked by. And when with all that you're explaining, you're making me think about a question that helped me in my own processes and my own journey, that is about related to expectations. And the question is, who am I doing what I am doing for?
Yes.
You know, who am I doing this for? You know?
Yes. Yeah. And I think that goes into what you were saying about being in the right spaces and expectations, right? Most of the times we put ourselves in these spaces that we don't even feel like we want to be in or belong in, because we were taught and we were expected to be in that space. Right?
Exactly.
Right? Like being doctors and all these things, lawyers, and then so many stories of my friends, and now they're like operating in like yoga retreats, and they just like really truly operating from the kindness, and that switch is kindness towards ourselves, to finally allow myself to be me.
Absolutely.
Is I think the crux of kindness, right?
And to find yourself, and when after I got married, for example, it was the expectation naturally to have children. And it turned out that I was unable to have children. I didn't have children. I wasn't able to be a mom. And wow, what a process of also sort of, what is the word? It's like realizing that you don't fit there, that it's not your path. It's not going to happen. It's not for you. There is something else here. You need to think about an option, other alternatives, or nothing. You know, and start to think about your choices, and realize that actually those choices are valid wherever it is. And but all that process really make me think about what you're saying, you know, that it's almost as if these paths for men and women, whoever we are in whichever situations, are really kind of predetermined somehow by society, by the messages we receive from our families, by, you know, the things that we hear from our grandparents, parents, and everybody around us while we are growing, and how that is how we develop our narratives and the way that we talk to ourselves about ourselves, and how do we relate with ourselves, the others, and the world, really. No?
Yes. And
but there are these moments in which all of those narratives go out of the window.
Yes. And I feel like those narratives go out the window when we have the courage to be kind to ourselves. Right? And I think that's the first point. And I think we define it in society as, oh, I need to be more compassionate to myself. I need to respect myself. I need to love myself more. But for me, again, I really do believe the key to all those things starts with kindness. It leads us into compassion. It leads us into love. It leads us into the nuances of all those quote unquote positive emotions we seek, because kindness has the ability for me to withhold even the negative. Right? And all those emotions that it unfurls with it, is the umbrella of it all, but it
Yeah.
is what allows us to expand and embody all of us.
All of us,
All of us.
as a whole. Yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And I like this image that you bring, no, for our audience as well. The idea of kindness being like an umbrella.
Yes.
That brings everything together in a way. Everything fit under this umbrella that is somehow protecting us from other things, you know?
Yeah, because it protects us from, it can protect us from society's expectations, from our own expectations. And we can then stand under that rain, meeting ourselves with compassion and love until we have the courage to stand in the rain as ourselves, right? And be able to withstand the storm.
Yes.
Right. And it's that kind barrier.
And so, and what comes to mind with what you're saying, in the end, it sounds like kindness then will give us the resilience we need to be ourselves.
To be ourselves. It really does give us the permission to be. And I wear this shirt, I wear the hoodie so often because it's a reminder for me to be disciplined and consistent in choosing to be kind for myself.
Absolutely.
And offering myself that permission. And some people ask me sometimes, well, you need permission to be kind? And I'm like, absolutely. I was like, it is something we need, because if we don't allow ourselves the permission to be, how can we have the permission to do? And we skip it. We just decide to do without all those other emotions and all these things to grapple with, which actually enlivens our action. It makes the depth of what we do in action so wondrous. And that's where I feel like the transformation, the healing comes from, because our action is so embodied in kindness that it transcends anything else that we may be confronted with.
Absolutely. Yes. And so it sounds so powerful. All what you're saying.
I know, it sounds so powerful, and it's like so difficult.
It feels. Yeah.
Right. And I talk about it, and I see people. I was just at the Points of Light conference where May I Be Kind was awarded a BIPOC scholarship. And I swear that was the first time I have been always met with, oh yeah, you can be kind. Almost like deflecting kindness from another person, or assuming that I am not kind to myself, so therefore I wear the shirt, right?
Yes.
So oddly, kindness with a negative connotation, because it's so difficult to receive, because we have so many things of receiving love, receiving hope, receiving all these things. But again, kindness is the umbrella that withholds all those wondrous emotions.
Absolutely.
It starts there. And without it, its depth is not there for us.
Yeah. And you're mentioning the t-shirt. I love your t-shirt.
Oh, thank you.
And when I saw you the first time with your t-shirt, like, oh, I want one of those. So we also want to invite our audience to check that out on the website, right?
Yes,
right?
On the website.
They can check the May I Be Kind website. Tell us.
mayibekind.com. Yes. Join the movement. Let's consistently remind ourselves that we have to be kind within to be able to offer it to others. And that is the beginning of loving ourselves. Remembering there is joy, and honestly inspiring hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking as well about, the depth of the practice in a way, no? And and I was wondering how your understanding of meditation and yoga as well, right?
Yes.
Can support then that connection with kindness.
It's the practice that allows us to practice kindness, right? It's within those moments of silence that we're able to meet ourselves, meet our mind with kindness. Otherwise, we're just consistently doing, and we're getting further away from our bodies. And for me, it's loving kindness is practiced by Sharon Salzberg, John Kabat-Zinn, Thich Nhat Hanh, that's really inspired me. And truthfully, May I Be Kind is the first phrase of loving kindness. So it came about really when my partner and I actually had an argument, and I was just wrestling with my therapist diagnosis of ADHD in me that I didn't realize I actually even had. And I was always just being like, I feel like I'm fighting my mind. I'm fighting my mind. I just am fighting my mind. And years before, a therapist that I had said, this will be your medicine. These 4 phrases will be your medicine. And the 4 phrases that she wrote on a post-it note and showed me on the Zoom camera was, I am enough, I do enough, I have enough, and I am worthwhile, right? And I have to say that and remind myself those things and really feel it every time I feel off balance, because for me, that is the hinging point for me to be kind. Because if I don't feel I'm enough, if I don't feel I don't do enough, if I don't feel I don't have enough, and if I don't feel I'm worthwhile, then how am I going to be kind towards myself? You know, and I lived those thoughts, and it was those thoughts that made me feel wrong, made me live in shame for years, you know? And so meditation and the introduction of it in my life opened myself to meet those thoughts. And I will say that journey was not easy. Like, you know, you sit there, and if you meditate the first time, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be quiet. This will be great. I need the quiet. I need to slow down. I need to stop. But when it's kind of like when you take it to right? Yeah. It reflects back at you who you are, right? And I, so much as I would sit there and I'd breathe and I'd be like, my mind can't stop. My mind can't stop. Why am I here? Why are these judgments coming up? Oh, wow. Well, I'm really resentful. I'm angry. And usually, at least for me, the practice usually begins with meeting those negative thoughts, you know, because it's all those negative thoughts that I run away from or do things so that I can live in the positive or in that beautiful, fantastical world that takes me further away from my humanity, right? And so meditation and the practice of it, practice of loving kindness, gives us a chance to, I guess, like meet the movie in our minds and the fantasy in our minds with kindness, whatever that may be. It can be beautiful things that come up and we meet with more kindness. Or it could be traumas and deep, deep pains, anger and resentments towards people and things that we love, even too, that we can then now look and watch from a perspective of kindness. And for me, I can only speak for myself, it's very difficult because I would look at those negative feelings with a perspective to fix, to be better, that I need to change so that I can be loved, that I need to change so that I can be kind, because one who is loved and one who is kind does not think or behave in those manners, right? And that is the power of kindness, and why it is so difficult, because I have to be able to sit with myself with pain, trauma, negative feelings, bad feelings, and say, may I be kind in these moments. And it challenges us to look at the depths of ourselves that are truly dark, so that we can really truly live and experience the light that is within us. It makes the light even lighter, right?
The other day, one of my supervisees said there is a whole lot of information within each emotion. And I was like, oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You
I
know,
love
the
that.
source of information that our emotions can give us.
Yes.
Is huge.
Yeah. And that all that information is within. And it's so interesting because now we're like on our phones or online trying to discover what other people say about their emotions. And so meditation gives us a chance to really read the story of our emotions within. That is the story. And yes, they're, you know, they are probably aligned within the same realm of what love is, but I like to speak on love because what we receive love from someone is not our interpretation of what we think love is. So it is so important for us to be so clear in what that information of what love means to me or what hope means to me, so that I'm not seeking that from others. And when I understand that, I allow others to live in the love that they believe for themselves. I give myself permission to feel those things the way that I feel. But by doing that, I allow myself to do the same for others. And that allowing is the kindness that we're speaking of today.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I'm thinking of is that in that process of being more or less aware of our emotions or being avoiding more or less, the pain that sometimes we find within ourselves when we go into those more deeper stages in which you will truly look at yourself. We are in this continuum, no? And somewhere in this long line of being more or less aware, avoiding more or less isn't just natural as human, to avoid pain. And I think I tend to see coping mechanisms as that way, that assist us, those things that we do that assist us to be, to don't go into that place that hurts really, because it's hurtful and fear, and it brings fear, brings instability and so many difficult sensations as well that sometimes are quite overwhelming. Do you think this process of kindness, well, you are there, no? But also is this something that people can really work through, and they probably I think what I'm thinking of is that in the end we tend to do or think that we need to be doing these things on our own. But I'm thinking we don't have to. No. It's okay to be with others, to start to find ourselves, so then you can find this space of kindness within as well.
Yes, I think it's so important to be in community as we go through this journey. But what I think the key to that is we can be in community and think that's going to open us these doors. But only if we first are in community with those emotions within ourselves, so that we have the permission and feel comfortable in our bodies and in our spirits to be able to share with that community. Because we can also be in those communities, and it's happened for me, where I feel alone. Because I feel like everyone is expressing and doing so, and in turn it almost makes me feel worse, right? In that sense. And so it's a wonderful thing that can open the doors, but it is also, again, the good and the bad of everything. It can also reignite or trigger more of those things, which then is a gift, right? If I can shift my perspective and awareness to it through meditation, it becomes a gift to recognize there is still more within me that I need to wrestle with, so that I can offer my full self in this beautiful space. And all of that, again, is like circling under that kindness. If I can meet that with kindness and come back to the table and be like, okay, still a little bit more to do. Okay.
Exactly. And it's okay.
Yeah, and it's okay. Yes.
And I'm thinking, in that way, kindness then can assist us in our process of being well, in our well-being. Or maintaining it and making it better somehow. Or I'm not sure if that's the way of expressing it, but to connect that kindness, with kindness will support our well-being.
Yes, well, it supports our well-being, and it gives us the capacity to live in our fullest humanity.
Yes, I think that's the clue. That give us the opportunity to be in our fullest humanity.
Yes, no? Yes.
With everything and anything we are. Do you think there is a way to uncover all of those thoughts and feelings that we need to uncover to be kind?
Yes. And honestly, I'm in the process of even just experiencing it and developing it for myself. I have really leaned into loving kindness, again, like through Sharon Salzberg. Actually, one of her books was truly like the impetus for me to really go into my discovery into self, and it opened me to then read all the books like Jon Kabat-Zinn, Thich Nhat Hanh, and to go deeper into loving kindness and to practice as best I knew how. And then I recently took a trip to Sedona where I came into contact with the teachings of Ilchi Lee through brain and body yoga, where I started to learn the process of tapping. And with my knowledge in fitness and in acting, I was able to realize that if I can unwind my mind to be safe enough to surrender to my body and realize that I have the hands that I need through the tapping to heal, then I begin to empower and create what is my temple, soften it so that I can move and do these things. And the process I'd love to share if we have time to share this process.
We do.
Yeah. And so first, the process, again, it's going to be about unraveling the mind first. And so that comes with thoughts and with questions. So the first question I would ask myself is, what is the expectation I have? Because again, for me, expectations is what blocks the kindness for me to allow myself to be me. So once I understand what that expectation is, I'll write it down. Then I'll ask myself deeply, what is the origin of that expectation? Does it come from others? Does it come from myself? Is it society? Is there a story I learned it in? And I'll really go into like a deep journaling of that. And within that origin or that story that you may have defined is an emotion. And it's going to be the emotion that you want to attain to fulfill the expectation. And that's why I feel like expectation blocks kindness, because it puts us in the act of trying to reach for something outside of ourselves that is already within. So it's so important to ask ourselves, what is the emotion I want to attain by fulfilling that expectation? Because when we understand what that emotion is, we have done something very, very magical, which is we have discovered our intention. So the difference is when we put ourselves in the act of trying to search and reach for love, which I have done, and search and reach for acceptance, I only operate from the neck up again, right? Because when I think of love, I think of pain and all the rejection and the trauma and all these things that I'm seeking outside that I need to now seek within. So then once I understand what that emotion is, I have to mindfully shift my phrase and emotion to an intention within. I have to go, instead of reaching out, I have to say, okay, this emotion I'm going to reach from now within. And that's what leads us into our loving kindness practice, because then that emotion, that one word, whether it be love, whether it be kindness, whether it be joy or peacefulness or hope, is placed after the phrase, may I be, which is the first phrase of loving kindness. So just that thought process, those questions of unraveling the mind to surrender to the body, will then offer us our loving kindness meditation. For example, may I be kind, may I be loved, may I be peaceful, may I be hopeful. And that's what makes this process slightly different, because for me, it makes it really personal. I really now attach, I used to always do meditations that were guided because it was my way in. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing because it's my way in. But to get deeper, we have to understand that those meditations and those words that others are offering us live within us as well. So it is our goal to seek that spirituality inside. And when we get to the point of being able to sit with ourselves for a long time and meet our minds and our stories fully with our bodies and those feelings, we then come up with these true phrases that will truly make a difference. Essentially, for me, what my therapist was saying was the phrase, may I be enough?
Yes.
Right? May I be worthwhile? So those are three key phrases for me that start to unravel my mind to surrender to the body. And then what will apply after that, what I have been applying for myself, is the teachings of Ilchi Lee and brain and body yoga with the tapping that we experienced when we met at the Global Wellness Club. And so for me, our stories again live in three parts of our bodies, energetic chakras. For me, 2 inches below our belly button, which I call our power center, and then our solar plexus 2 inches below where our rib cage meets, and
Mm-hmm.
then our sternum in the center right here. So I call our gut center, our power center, our solar plexus center, our soul center, and
Mm-hmm.
our sternum, our heart center. And so when we tap those areas, and what we do is we gently just, place our hands in a fist and gently start to tap in those regions. What I do, because of my ADHD, it is very hard for me to just sit without my mind spinning from one place to the next.
Uh-huh.
So this was really transformational for me when I learned it, because
Mm-hmm.
it helped me get to that state that I was looking for by doing, which we all love to do. And we live in a society of doing. So it's giving ourselves, but the beauty of this is we are using the hands we are gifted. So we are innately teaching ourselves, I can heal and I can feel just with what I have, with
Yes.
what
Yeah.
I have been
Yeah.
gifted.
Mm-hmm.
So then now we take the phrases and the thoughts of loving kindness and we start to implement them into these centers of our body. So what I do in the morning and at night is I'll say, may I be kind, may I be worthwhile to myself as I'm tapping these energetic centers. And what it's doing is it's softening my system to
Mm,
receive
mm,
from myself. And
mm, mm.
because the phrase isn't coming from what someone else said, but from the stories, as we ask those questions, from the stories that I have lived and that I've journaled out, it
Uh-huh.
becomes more personal. So not only are you're welcoming those stories, but you're allowing yourself in a safe space to relive those stories and heal those stories by unraveling them in the mind, softening them into our bodies. As we say those things,
Mm.
and we move our hands into these chakra zones, we'll start to feel things come up. And you'll start to feel, like, for me, it's like this energetic wave. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm tapping harder. Sometimes I notice I can't breathe as deep. So it's allowing me to meet myself as I would exist in the real world, triggered by all these emotions without the umbrella of kindness. Does that make sense? It allows me.
100%.
So when I sit and I do this process, it's as if I open my umbrella of kindness. I'm in this safe space. I've stopped the rain from falling on me from whatever
Mm,
has happened throughout the day.
mm,
And I take this quiet time to really meet myself with kindness, so that, as we all need to, we can't always have the umbrella. When we take it down and it is still raining, we have
mm.
expanded the capacity of what kindness is for us, to be able to receive with kindness what is being brought to us in the world.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Mm.
And how long do you do
Oh,
the exercise for?
I would build up slowly. So for me,
Uh-huh.
it also depends on the time that I have during the day.
Yes.
But
Uh-huh.
I would say each center, 2 to 3 minutes. Say your phrase
Okay.
to yourself. So and ends up being, that's 3 centers. So it ends up
Mm-hmm.
being 9 minutes. So 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you can, and the beauty about this is it's not just may I be kind. It's not just may I be loved. You can ask yourself those simple questions before you start your meditation, as you wake up, or honestly at the end of the day too, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
those are beautiful questions to start our day with. It's also a beautiful way to end our day
Give
with.
closure to your
Give
day,
closure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
It sets us up, and then it gives us a point of reflection to practice gratitude, kindness, love towards what has happened that day, so that we're rebuilding our system and we're not carrying that energy from the day, right? So we
Yeah. Yeah.
start in this energetic space of kindness. It may shift throughout the day because we're human. We get back to it through this practice. And when we're sleeping, we're not holding on to it
Mm,
as
mm, mm.
much, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this practice as well is well, all what you're explaining is an invitation as well for
Yes,
our audience to try and to do a little bit of tapping
yes,
with their hands. You said with your hands in fist
yes,
in the 3 chakra points,
yes, yes.
thinking about the may I be kind, or
May I
may
be
I be
kind, may I be
loved, may I
loved,
be
may I
loved,
be peaceful. So
may I
combining
be
the active,
patient with
yes,
myself
yes,
comes
may I
to
be
mind.
patient with myself. Yes, and those things,
Yes.
because there's always going to be that one underlying loving kindness phrase that will be the theme of the day that we are being met with, right?
Yeah, yes.
Right. And even if we don't have time in the morning, if it's too busy, it is so important to do it at the end of the day, because that's when we're brought to lessons of that. And I would also like to say that there's a wonderful Body and Brain Yoga has a wonderful YouTube channel called Brain Education TV, and you can go deeper into these
good.
techniques. Yeah. And so I always want to honor what I've learned. And then also the meditations of Sharon Salzberg and Thich Nhat Hanh are really, really key if you're struggling with going to these stories for yourself. So
Yes.
it might be good to start with a guided meditation first, see how it feels, apply a little bit of the tapping as you're going through the meditation if you feel restless, because it softens the body again to be in that space. But this process that we've talked about today has become something for me that makes it a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit more me.
Yes.
And that at the end of the day, all the meditations, all the yoga, all the workouts, all the creativity that we do is truly done because we want to be more of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's something that I always talk about as well here in the podcast. And always the invitation is to think about personally meaningful self-care strategies, because in the end, we are unique.
Yes.
And we
are.
need to be in that honoring, I think, is the word that comes to mind for me at this moment. Really honoring who we are, where are we at in life, and what is within us.
Yes.
And get it and take it from there. And it's okay. No, accepting that there is where we get it from.
Yes. Yes.
So, Justin, thank you so very much.
I mean,
there is so much wisdom in your words. I really appreciate your presence with me today and in this conversation.
Yes. Can I say one thing? Because I also don't want
before we finish.
Yes, I also don't want our service workers and frontline workers to think you have to do this at the beginning or end of the day. Remember, those 3 centers hold our energy. So even if you can step outside and tap where you feel you need to feel more. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Just close your eyes for 2 minutes when you're going through a difficult time in work, when you feel like you're locked because your body doesn't want to feel the pain and you need to just soften, or when you need to soften your heart. Those are things that you can apply 1 to 2 minutes throughout the day to soften the body, to bring yourself back into your body when we operate so much from the neck up. Right?
Yeah. And so, in that very highly stressful kind of state.
Yes. And so these little things, like even if it's just, I'm going to run to the bathroom really quick, stay in the stall and just tap my heart. Really breathe into my heart, get myself to breathe deeply. And then I'm going to meet my day. You'll notice things lift, because you'll notice the storms start to subside, or the rain start to feel a little bit less, because that is your little, that is you opening the umbrella of kindness, meeting yourself in that 1 to 2 minutes, and then being able to withstand the storm that you may be in for that day.
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
I just want to say that
No, that's super useful. Yes, we are this is what we are doing here. Thank you. I appreciate that you bring even one more tip, for our audience, because they are dealing with so much and working very hard and with lots of stressful situations and witnessing loads of emotional, psychological, and physical pain, really. Yes. And so every single tip is very, very welcome. And so your presence here today too, Justin. So thank you so much.
Yes,
and
thank you for having me.
Yes, and I hope our paths cross over very soon again.
Absolutely.
And I will definitely get that t-shirt. I have to have one.
Yes, I will get you one. I will get you one. Thank you.
I have to have one. Okay, and we will put all the information for our audience as well to get to know more about the May Be Kind movement.
Yes.
Where to get the t-shirt as well, if they want to join the club. And also, just to remind everybody that if you like what you're hearing today, and you feel that may help someone else, just help us to help and share it, or give it a like and pass it on. And in this way, we continue sort of developing this chain that also is including kindness today, particularly is about creating this, links together of kindness. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you everyone for listening. Take care.
Bye.